everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I want to kick this off with a quick question. Have you ever woken up and just thought, I can't do it today? Like, no matter how many things you need to get done, you just don't feel motivated? Let me tell you, you're not alone. We've all been there. Today, I'm diving deep into the topic of staying motivated every single day. We'll talk about why motivation is so tricky to maintain, the science behind it, and some super practical tips you can use starting today. But before we dive in, let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was juggling way too much. Work deadlines, personal goals, and family responsibilities. I was ambitious, sure, but I'd hit a wall. Every morning, I'd sit down with my to-do list and just feel paralyzed. I kept asking myself, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just get it together? It wasn't until I started breaking things down and understanding how motivation really works that things changed for me. And guess what? You can change too. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's talk about how to find your drive, even on the toughest days. The science of motivation. All right, let's start with a little background on what motivation actually is. A lot of people think motivation is just something you feel, like it's this magical force that comes and goes. But that's not true. Motivation is actually something we can build, nurture, and control. So, here's the science. Motivation is driven by dopamine, a chemical in your brain. When you achieve something, big or small, your brain gets a dopamine hit, and that makes you feel good. It's why crossing something off your to-do list feels so satisfying. But here's the trick. Your brain doesn't care how big the accomplishment is. It just wants progress. That's why even small wins can boost your motivation. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've got this massive project to finish. Maybe it's writing a book, planning an event, or even cleaning out your garage. Just thinking about it feels overwhelming, right? But if you break it down into tiny steps, like write the first paragraph or sort one box of stuff, and finish just one of those, your brain says, hey, we're making progress. And that motivates you to keep going. Now, there are two types of motivation: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation comes from within. It's about doing things because they matter to you. For example, maybe you're working out because you want to feel healthier and happier. Extrinsic motivation, on the other hand, comes from outside, like rewards, deadlines, or recognition. Here's where it gets interesting. Studies show that intrinsic motivation is more powerful and long-lasting than extrinsic motivation. So, if you can figure out your personal why you're chasing your goals, you're way more likely to stay consistent. Practical tips for staying motivated. Now that we understand motivation a bit better, let's get into the good stuff. Practical tips you can start using today. Tip 1. Set clear, achievable goals. One of the biggest motivation killers is feeling overwhelmed. If your goals are too vague or too big, they'll feel impossible. Instead, break them down into small, actionable steps. For example, if your goal is to get healthy, start with something specific like drink 8 glasses of water today or go for a 10-minute walk. Here's a personal tip. I keep a sticky note on my desk with 3 goals for the day. Just 3. And every time I cross one off, I feel this little burst of pride that keeps me going. Build a morning routine. How you start your day sets the tone for everything. I used to roll out of bed, check my phone, and instantly feel stressed. But when I started creating a simple morning routine, like journaling for 5 minutes or doing a quick stretch, it completely changed my mindset. Try this. Tomorrow morning, instead of diving into your emails, spend 5 minutes writing down what you're grateful for or what you want to accomplish. Trust me, it makes a huge difference. Celebrate small wins. This one is huge. Don't wait for the big milestones to celebrate. Every step you take toward your goal matters. Finished a workout? Treat yourself to a good meal. Crossed off a task? Give yourself a high five, literally, in the mirror if you have to. It might feel silly, but it works. Overcoming setbacks. Okay, let's talk about those tough days when motivation feels impossible. Because let's be real. No matter how many tips you have, life happens. First, let's reframe failure. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it. Every time you mess up, you're learning something. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine started a business, and in the first year, they lost money. Big time. But instead of giving up, they took it as a lesson, adjusted their strategy, and now their business is thriving. The key is to see setbacks as stepping stones, not roadblocks. Second, be kind to yourself. If you're beating yourself up for not being productive, you're only making it harder to bounce back. Instead, take a break. Go for a walk, meditate, or just breathe. Sometimes, a little rest is all you need to recharge. Environment and positivity. Let's not forget about your surroundings. Your environment has a huge impact on your motivation. Start by surrounding yourself with positivity. Who you spend time with matters. If you're constantly around negative people, it's going to drain you. Instead, find people who lift you up. Whether that's friends, mentors, or even motivational speakers you follow online. And here's a simple hack. Declutter your space. I know it sounds small, but having a clean, organized environment can do wonders for your mental clarity. Try it. Clean up your desk, and see how much better you feel. So, to wrap things up, staying motivated isn't about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you, whether that's setting clear goals, celebrating small wins, or just taking time to recharge. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this. Motivation isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And every day you have the chance to create it. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who might need a little motivation, too. And don't forget, you've got this. Until next time, stay inspired.